Perhaps each of us where you would once have raised your voice, this time you simply smile and choose silence. Not because you lack reasoning, nor because you are afraid, but because suddenly you see it no longer matters if you win or not. That small moment is in fact a great milestone, a sign that you are moving in the right direction. Carl Jung once said, "Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling." Silence is no longer a mark of defeat or weakness, but a mature choice. It shows that you are steady enough not to be dragged into the whirlpool of argument, and lucid enough to understand that true value does not lie in proving, but in the ability to preserve inner peace. A mother once shared with our channel that for many years she constantly argued with her teenage son. Each time the boy was stubborn, she would shout, "I am your mother, you must listen, you're wrong." And the boy would push back even harder. Both wanted to prove themselves right. The result, the distance between them only grew. But one day, in the midst of an argument, she suddenly fell silent. She realized she did not need to win against her son. Instead of retorting, she sat down and listened. Strangely, when she stopped trying to prove herself, the boy lowered his voice, and for the first time, they truly spoke with each other. That moment showed her, sometimes peace heals more than victory. In Jung's theory, each of us has a social mask called the persona. It is the image we want others to see, smart, strong, correct. And to keep that mask, we fight endlessly. But when walking the right path, you begin to realize you no longer need that mask. You don't need victory for others to believe you are worthy. True value doesn't come from persuasion, but from embodying your own truth. This is the step from persona to self, the deepest core, where you are whole without needing to prove. In the past, you were like someone standing at a crossroads. ready to turn down every lane where someone argued, just to prove yourself right. You were pulled into every quarrel as though your worth depended on each word. But when you choose peace over victory, you become the one who knows the path to walk. You no longer stop at each corner to argue, no longer waste strength proving yourself to those walking against you. You simply move on quietly because you know the destination is not winning an argument, but staying faithful to the path your soul has chosen. There is a small story often told by Zen masters. A student asked his teacher how to know if one has matured on the spiritual path. The teacher gave no long theory, no complex explanation. He only shared a simple observation. The moment a person faces insult but no longer feels the need to retaliate, when they choose peace instead of victory, that is when they are walking in the right direction. From the outside, perhaps no one sees the change in you. You still go to work, still talk, still live among the same challenges. But inside, the roots have changed. Like a tree whose roots have begun to sink deeper into the earth, unseen to the eye, but determining the strength to grow tall. Once, you fought hard to protect your ego, needing recognition, needing to prove right from wrong. Now, you protect your peace. You choose silence, not because you are weak, but because you will not let mind and heart be caught in a useless spiral. You see the wound behind provocation, and instead of striking back, you answer with compassion. Victory in an argument only brings short-lived joy, but keeping peace brings lasting freedom. You no longer measure your worth by the number of times you are right in others' eyes, but by your ability to live true to your essence. And when you feel that peace, you see clearer than ever. This is the sign that you are walking the right path. When you choose peace over victory, you plant the first seed of inner growth. But this is only the beginning. After you learn to hold peace in conflict, another change arises. Your sense of time itself begins to transform. You will no longer feel enslaved by the clock, but will begin to live in a deeper, freer rhythm, where instead of counting minutes, you learn to treasure each moment. If you too are choosing peace over victory, leave the word peace in the comments below. It will be the secret signal by which we recognize each other amidst the noisy crowd, the souls learning to live true and free to their own essence. Sign 2. Changing how you perceive time. There is a stage in life when people always feel they are racing against time. The clock on the wall ticks like the pounding of pressure. A day passes, you review your task list and see a long line of things undone. Even if you have worked from morning until night, there is still that feeling of not enough. You live in haste, as if always late, as if the future demands more, faster, bigger. And at night, instead of peace, you scold yourself. How much time did I waste today? But when you step onto the right path, a strange shift occurs inside. It is not that you suddenly have more time, nor that the clock stops. What changes is how you experience time within. The inner rhythm slows. You are no longer driven by the ticking clock. Inside, she always felt empty. A health crisis forced her to stop. Days in the hospital gave her, for the first time, hours to stare at the ceiling and ask, "What am I really living for?" When she recovered, she changed. Instead of 10 tasks, she focused on what was meaningful. Instead of showing up everywhere, she gave time to family, to quiet meals, to herself. Others said she had slowed down, but she knew, for the first time in years, she was truly living. Modern psychology has a term, subjective time perception, how each person subjectively experiences time. Research shows that when people live under stress and hurry, they feel time rushing, always scarce. Conversely, when people are focused and present, they feel time expand and deepen, though the clock runs the same. Science calls it the elastic time effect. The more present you are, the richer your experience of time. This explains why, when you flow with what is right, you feel you have more time, even though no one has more than 24 hours. Changing your sense of time is like boarding a train. Before finding the right one, you live in constant fear of being late, running, anxiously watching the schedule. But once on the right train, you no longer obsess over departure or arrival. You begin to look out the window, listen to the wheels on the track, and realize that the journey itself is the treasure, not hurrying to the destination. From outside, others may not understand. They may say you are slowing down, missing opportunities, but inside, you know you are living with your soul. You know that doing less but deeper nourishes you more than doing much but shallow. You know patience is wisdom, and slowing down is not falling behind, but walking in rhythm with life's natural flow. And when you stop resisting, when you learn to align with natural cycles, as seasons have blooms and falls, you too find peace within. No longer fearing you are late, no longer dreading missed trains. For you realize, as long as you walk the right path, you will always arrive where you need to, at the time your soul has set. Then you begin to enter another kind of life, no longer in haste and lack, but in spaciousness and sufficiency. That is one of the clearest signs you are on your true path. Sign 3. Beginning to care for the invisible. And once you know how to keep peace in conflict and walk with life's rhythm instead of fighting it, another door opens. The next sign is when you begin to care for the invisible, energy, thought, and honesty with your own soul. There are changes in life easy to see: a new job, a new relationship, a new house, an achievement. But there are also transformations so quiet that only the inner world perceives them. One such moment is when a person begins to care about the invisible, things no one can measure, yet which determine the quality of life. It is the energy you radiate, the feeling of lightness or heaviness after each action, the silent frequency that draws people closer or drives them away. At this stage, you become aware that what the eyes see may not be most important. What nourishes or erodes the soul lies in how you live, how you think, and what you sow in every moment. Once, complaining, judging, or joining in gossip may have seemed natural, but gradually you notice that each time something inside dims, as if dust settles on the inner light. The change begins when you refuse these, not from fear of karma or others' judgment, but from sensing clearly that such energy makes you weary, disconnected from inner clarity. A new kind of morality forms, not society's imposed codes, but an invisible morality, honesty with oneself. You know what keeps the soul clear, what makes it murky, and you choose light. It is no longer an effort to appear right in others' eyes, but an inner compulsion, as if the soul has matured and knows what must be guarded. I knew a woman working in HR, surrounded by countless personalities, colleagues complaining, bosses criticizing, employees gossiping. She used to join break room chats full of trivial judgments, thinking it harmless release. But often she left feeling drained. One day she chose silence. When others began gossiping, she only smiled and quietly left. At first, many thought she was distant or pretentious, yet later, positive colleagues sought her out for sincere conversations. She said that since leaving empty talk behind, her body felt healthier, her sleep deeper. And strangely, drama seekers vanished from her life. That is how the outer world responds. When you tend to energy, order around you rearranges itself. In Christian tradition, there is the image of a lamp burning in the temple, symbolizing God's presence. It is not flashy, not everyone sees it, yet it is tended day and night. Ancient priests saw keeping that flame alive as sacred duty. For as long as the light burned, holiness dwelled among the people. Caring for inner energy is like keeping that temple flame. No one sees when you quietly dismiss a toxic thought or restrain yourself from a sharp word. Yet each silent choice is another drop of oil to keep the flame alive, so the inner light never dies. And when that flame is steady, everything around is illumined. Walking the right path is when you stop betraying yourself just to maintain an old image. Once you may have joined every relationship, every party, every comparison. But one day you learn to say no, no longer forcing your two are learning to care for the invisible, guarding energy, nourishing clarity, like this video. A small act, but a way of feeding the flame, so positive energy spreads to others who need it. Sign 4. No longer resisting avoided emotions. Caring for the invisible is not only keeping energy clear, but daring to enter emotional depths. It is when you stop avoiding sadness, anger, or repressed memories and allow them presence. Walking the right path does not mean all is light. Often, the first thing that comes is waves of long-buried feelings, tears never cried, anger buried, trauma suppressed. When they return, Many think they are regressing, that healing has failed. But the truth is the opposite. It is the sign the soul is ready to face what was once hidden. We once labeled emotions, joy, happiness, excitement we called good, sadness, anger, fear, loneliness we deemed bad and tried to banish. But on the right path, you see that all emotions are messages. They are guests knocking, carrying notes from the depths of psyche. If we drive them away, the note remains, finding another way back, often stronger. Not resisting emotions does not mean drowning in them. It means learning to stay, to be present instead of fleeing. When anger rises, instead of swallowing it or lashing out, you sit and ask, what wound lies beneath? When sadness returns, instead of filling it with work or romance, you allow tears, cleansing the heart. When old memories surface, instead of pushing them away, you acknowledge they existed and hurt. Imagine emotions as children in a family. The ignored one cries louder, the scolded one rebels. But if the mother sits, arms open, even the angry or tearful ones calm. So too the soul. Only when all are embraced, joy and pain alike, does wholeness come. In Jungian therapy, a successful woman spoke of her void. For years she avoided childhood pain, a harsh mother who rarely comforted. When memories rose, she buried herself in work, parties, fleeting affairs. But the more she ran, the larger the emptiness. After heartbreak, pain surged so intensely she collapsed. Instead of covering it again, she stayed. She sought therapy, journaled, let memories and feelings pour out unjudged. The first lines stabbed like reopening wounds. But over time she saw, emotions did not wish to destroy, only to be acknowledged. From that moment, new strength arose. Not the false strength of suppression or pretense, but the courage to remain in storm without vanishing. She no longer flared when family topics arose, no longer drained herself in work to fill emptiness. Instead, she could sit still, let emotions pass, and in acceptance, true peace began. In psychology, this is called catharsis, emotional release, like opening a valve for water long pressed. At first chaotic, torrential, even frightening. But once flow is freed, clarity returns. No one matures inwardly without once sitting to let inner darkness speak. This is deep transformation. For when you stop fleeing emotions, you stop repeating wounds onto others. No longer flaring without cause, no longer seeking relationships to fill voids, no longer living in automatic reactions. You become free. Free from past, from cycles, from invisible walls you built. Not resisting emotions does not turn life rosy, but it makes you truer. When tears fall, you feel no shame. When anger comes, you do not deny it. When loneliness arrives, you don't rush to cover it. You know they are waves, and you are the ocean that holds them. This is the deepest shift. Honesty with self. For no life can be right while you turn from your inner world. Courage to remain with emotions is proof you have stopped fleeing your essence. And here, peace is no longer a distant concept, but lived experience. And when you are brave enough not to avoid emotions, another milestone comes, the inability to betray yourself. Sign 5. You can no longer betray yourself. There is a threshold beyond which you cannot return. It is the moment awareness has ignited and loyalty to self becomes instinct. From then, each time you go against your inner call, it is no longer mild regret, but heavy weight. more painful than any external loss. Once you could compromise, nod reluctantly to please others, cling to a suffocating relationship, or stay silent in an environment dimming your light. But once the soul awakens, such becomes intolerable. Not because of prohibition, but because within you has grown too strong to permit another self-betrayal. Think of a violin finely crafted. When raw, it tolerates rough notes. But once tuned perfectly, even one wrong note makes the wood vibrate in protest. Humans too. Before listening inward, we could live against inner call. No success is worth self-betrayal. With this loyalty, you respect past versions that brought you here. Yet no, you can never return to false life. You cannot step into a dark room pretending joy. You cannot cling to a relationship that shrinks your soul. You cannot compromise with inner falsehood. Others may say you've changed. Some call you difficult, even selfish, but you know, this is maturity. For betraying self is the greatest selfishness. It spreads suffering to you and others. Only when true to the soul can you give fully. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The greatest privilege is not recognition nor success, but to live as yourself. And when this loyalty becomes instinct, you no longer need permission, no medal. You simply are, and that is enough. Yes, loyalty hurts at times. You may leave a stable job, a long relationship, a familiar world, but it is cleansing pain, like pulling rotten roots so the tree can grow. For beyond the loss, what you keep is the greatest blessing. Certainty you are on the right path. For the right path is measured not by outer success, but by absolute loyalty to the soul, where you can and will no longer betray yourself. If you have ever reached that moment of refusing compromise in love, work, or any vital choice, share your story in the comments. Perhaps your experience will be the spark for others learning loyalty to the soul. Sign 6. You begin attracting the right people and circumstances. When you pass the threshold of no longer betraying self, another change comes. You realize you no longer need to force relationships drained empty, nor chase opportunities not yours. The outer world begins to move differently, lightly, naturally, in resonance. This shows inner energy has shifted, and life mirrors it. Before, You may have felt trapped in loops, meeting the same kind of people, taking ill-fitting jobs, entering exhausting environments. Not bad luck, but because inner energy had not changed. We attract circumstances reflecting our frequency. On the right path, change comes from within. You live true, know what nourishes, what drains. That honesty is like a signal sent into the universe. This is my frequency. And from there, people, opportunities, and circumstances resonate. Others think you are lucky. They say, "What a coincidence you met that person," or "Lucky you got that job." But you know, it is not coincidence, but the result of a long journey of authenticity. When you stop pretending, stop compromising, released energy invites what matches. I know a woman long stuck in draining relationships. Each man is the same, fiery at first, then cold, leaving her abandoned. Work too. Company after company promised much, but each competitive, each day a battle. She thought life mocked her. Change came when she healed. She recognized old beliefs. I must try harder to be loved. If I don't endure, I'll be left. She dismantled them, dared say no, dared quit stable jobs, dared sit with loneliness instead of filling it. Then something shifted. At a seminar she once feared, she met new friends, honest, non-competitive. From them came a job, creative, supportive. Later she met a man different, steady, patient, willing to stay. For the first time, she did not need a grip to hold. Things came lightly and stayed. No longer chasing images, she had become whole, and wholeness attracted resonance. From Jung's view, when you choose to be yourself, to unite with the self, the outer world restructures, reflecting inner wholeness. Put simply, you leave the game of chasing. Once you chased love, success, recognition, and they slipped away. Now, when you stop, when you rest in true essence, life comes to you. Right people appear without force. Nurturing opportunities knock when you stop proving. This shows in small details. Fewer meaningless chats, more deep conversations, nourishing bonds. You no longer feel lost in crowds, for resonant souls walk toward you. Even chance moments, meeting someone at a cafe, hearing a timely story, become signs you are on the right frequency. Jung emphasized synchronicity, meaningful coincidences. On the right path, they multiply. You think of someone, they call. You wonder your direction, an opportunity appears. Not random magic, but the universe responding when you are aligned. The key is, you are no longer exhausted from forcing, nor in pain clinging to what is gone. The arrival of right people and circumstances shows life need not be war, but can be a flow you need not resist. And when you live this, you see the deeper truth. It is not luck, but the inevitable result of the journey. The journey of removing masks, facing shadow, loyalty to soul, choosing peace over victory. For when you change inside, the world outside can only mirror it. Then you realize your life begins to move toward goodness, no longer repeating old loops, but becoming a flow of resonance. People and opportunities align, without you chasing. All arranges itself, comes gently, and you need only be present to receive. One walking the right path does not need to prove noisily, nor follow another's map. They are like a traveler listening to their own footsteps, letting each road walked become testimony of inner growth. Not by victory or achievement, but by stillness, honesty, and the ability to let life arrange itself. Have you ever felt like you're living, but not truly in control? That behind every seemingly rational decision, there's a hidden force quietly pulling the strings. That is the shadow, the term Carl Jung used to describe the aspects of ourselves we hide, suppress, and deny within our psyche. The shadow is not as malevolent as we might think. It is merely the unconscious parts of us yearning to be heard, to be acknowledged. Jung boldly asserted that enlightenment does not come from imagining beautiful things, but only arrives when we muster the courage to illuminate the darkest corners of ourselves. But how do you know when the shadow has stopped controlling your energy? In this video, we won't search for a formula for healing. Instead, we'll seek the subtle yet profound signs that you've begun to step out from under the shadow's control. And it's entirely possible that your journey back to yourself has quietly begun long ago. Sign 1. Emotions no longer dictate your behavior. As a child, did you ever chase your own shadow under the golden glow of the afternoon sun? You ran, and the shadow ran. You stopped, and it stopped too. No matter how hard you tried, you could never escape it. That game, unconsciously, has followed you into adulthood. Only now, the shadow is no longer a game. It's the sudden outbursts of anger, the sobbing in the dead of night, the harsh words spoken to someone you love, even though deep down, you never meant them. This shadow symbolizes emotions that always lurk behind, manipulating and directing your actions. Carl Jung called this shadow, the unconscious realm where suppressed emotions silently pull the strings, guiding your behavior. Your life was once a series of days lived under its rule. Like a small boat adrift on a vast ocean, you were swept along by turbulent waves, sometimes raging like fire, sinking into pain, sometimes frantically fleeing from yourself. The most critical decisions, the actions that shaped your life, often came when you were most intensely swayed by your emotions. More than once you said things you later regretted or reacted excessively, causing pain to those you love and driving them away. You couldn't control it because at that moment your emotions and actions were nearly one. But the first sign that the shadow no longer controls your energy is when you realize you don't have to act on every emotion. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The moment you recognize that emotions are not the sole truth, but merely a fleeting current of energy in your mind, you begin to step out of the fate Jung spoke of. This doesn't mean you become emotionless. On the contrary, you still feel every wave of emotion clearly, but they no longer command your actions. Emotions become companions on your life's journey. You see them, listen to them, but no longer hand them the steering wheel to drive your path. Instead, they become visitors you can welcome, observe, and converse with, but you're not obligated to follow their demands. A woman once shared her moment of awakening. "My husband said something that made me feel invisible. In the past, I would have stayed silent all day, cold as ice, to retaliate. But that time, I looked at him and realized the feeling of rejection rising in me wasn't because of him, but from a childhood memory of being ignored by my parents. I saw that pain clearly, but for the first time, I didn't react. I just breathed and spoke about what I felt instead of turning it into punishment. That difference is not small. It's a quiet revolution unfolding within you." Jung said, "Emotion is the chief source of becoming conscious. When the shadow no longer commands, you begin to feel a psychological pause. Emotions still come, but you have enough inner space to choose your response. And that's where true strength is born, not in reflex, but in conscious response. Someone who betrayed you no longer sparks jealousy. A criticism no longer crushes you. Silence no longer drives you mad. Not because you no longer feel, but because you've grown beyond those emotions. You've risen above the unconscious cycle and stepped into the light of active consciousness. At that point, you're no longer surviving your emotions, you're residing within them, observing, feeling, learning. Emotions become data of the soul, no longer the shadow's commands. And do you know the strangest thing? When you stop resisting or fleeing your emotions, when you sit down and listen, they begin to soften. Like a child who stops crying when finally picked up and hears, "Mum is here." The shadow only screams when ignored. When seen, it becomes a part of you that needs love, not an enemy to destroy. This is the first sign, but also the greatest door opening to the entire journey. Emotions are no longer the driver. You are the one at the wheel. Sign 2. You no longer use the past as a shield. As you gradually learn to step back so emotions no longer dictate your actions, you also begin to see more clearly what lies beneath those emotions. What you find isn't the recent events, but the old scars from the past, which you once used as a shield, an explanation, or even an excuse for your stumbles. But when the shadow no longer dominates, you realize you've stopped using the past as a haven for unresolved pain. The past is no longer the reason you justify why you've become guarded, angry, or easily hurt. It's still there, with all its memories, wounds, and unnamed things. But for the first time, you face it as something that happened, not something secretly controlling you. Carl Jung clearly stated, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." When you haven't yet seen the shadow clearly, you don't live in the present. You merely reenact undigested memories, carrying all the old emotions, reactions, and survival mechanisms. You're not living with your current partner. You're reliving the fear of abandonment from your first love. You're not hearing feedback from your boss. You're hearing your father's voice making you feel worthless. That's how the past holds you captive, not as memories, but as a distorted lens through every moment of your life. You once said, "I'm cold because I was hurt before. I don't open up because I trusted the wrong person." Those statements aren't wrong, but they're spells that keep you trapped. Each time you repeat them, you pledge loyalty to an old pain. You use it as armor, unaware that it's blocking opportunities to live authentically, love genuinely, and be truly free. Psychology calls this identity attachment, an unconscious attachment to a wounded identity. When you're too accustomed to being defined by pain, you fear losing it because you don't know who you are without being the one who was hurt. Imagine living in a dilapidated house. The walls are cracked, the ceiling stained from leaks. But because you grew up there, you're used to placing buckets, avoiding the chandelier. You call it home, and you don't move, not because you love it, but because you've learned to live with it. The past is the same. It doesn't need to be beautiful to keep you. It just needs to be familiar enough to make you afraid to leave. But a clear sign that the shadow no longer controls your energy is when you stop living in that house. You still remember it, And you, who have started writing the next chapter without copying the old pages, have begun stepping into the present on your own 2 feet. Sign 3. You no longer seek external validation. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But before you can become yourself, you must let go of the illusion that you need the world's validation to feel complete." When the shadow is in control, it whispers, "If someone loves you, you're worthy. If people applaud, you're doing it right. If no one acknowledges you, you've failed." And so, you chase after it, exhausted like a dog running after its tail, only to realize the tail is never the destination. You find yourself posting photos just to see who likes them. You share a clever story not to connect, but to see if someone calls it cool. You love someone not because of a genuine bond, but because their presence makes you feel less empty. You become a beggar for validation, craving love, praise, or approving glances like an addict needing a fix. And the shadow stands behind it all, whispering, "Don't let them see you're weak. You need to be chosen. You need to be wanted." When you live through this lens, life ceases to be a journey of self-discovery and becomes a stage. Every relationship turns into an unconscious bargain. I give you what you need, and you validate my worth. But then you discover, validation from others always has an expiration date. When someone turns away, you feel invisible. When a success goes unpraised, it feels hollow. But at some point, you stop needing it. You still share, but not for applause. You still love, but not to be filled. You still strive, but not for recognition, because it feels right. And that's when you know. The shadow no longer controls you with its hunger for validation. A friend of mine once lived with an obsession. "I did everything to earn my mother's approval, excelling in school, working hard, earning money, buying a house. But every time she criticized me, I felt like that trembling, helpless 7-year-old again. Until I stopped, not because I didn't want her love, but because I realized I couldn't live my life as a test graded by someone else. The day I let go of that expectation was the day I stopped needing anyone to confirm my worth." That story isn't uncommon, but the way someone breaks free from that cycle is rare. Psychologically, the need for validation is part of ego development. As children, we need parental affirmation to build a sense of self. But if that affirmation is absent or conditional, we grow up with a void, believing we must earn love, that we must be worthy to exist. The shadow holds onto these belief patterns and uses them as bait. It makes us confuse the desire to be seen with the need to be approved to feel valuable. Jung understood that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, only happens when you detach from the collective consensus. This means you must exist without depending on others' gazes, applause, or acknowledgement. When you stop needing validation to feel enough, you begin to see yourself. It's like a musician playing a piece simply because he loves the sound of the strings, not because someone is listening. Like a woman standing before a mirror and smiling, not because she's prettier than someone else, but because she's stopped hating herself. No one hands you your worth. You just stop begging for it. And in that silence, an extraordinary strength begins to rise. You walk into a room without needing attention, yet people sense your groundedness. You can say no without guilt. You can walk away without needing a dramatic farewell. You can be imperfect, and still feel whole. Because you no longer rely on others' eyes to know who you are. This isn't indifference, it's the expression of inner wholeness. You don't reject the world, you just stop offering yourself as a product for it to consume. Your presence is no longer a resume for approval, but an invitation. I am here, authentic and whole. Come as you are, or leave as you will. And do you know the miraculous thing? When you stop seeking validation, you start attracting people who don't need to prove anything. They don't stay because you make them feel special. They stay because with you, they can be themselves too. Sign 4. You stop blaming and start to embrace responsibility. When you stop craving external validation, you turn inward to face something no one can give you or take away: the responsibility to live authentically as yourself. That's when you begin to look back at your life, not through the lens of blame, but through the eyes of awakened responsibility. Jung said that blame is how the shadow protects the ego. It doesn't want you to feel weak, so it quickly labels others as the culprit: parents, partners, bosses, society, fate, anyone but you. When the shadow is in control, you live as if life is happening to you, not from you. When someone hurts you, you rage. When abandoned, you blame. When you fail, you point to unsupportive circumstances. When wounded, you say, "It's because of what happened back then." But as you grow spiritually, you realize you've allowed those things to linger longer than necessary. Not to self-blame, but to start acting with awareness. Jung called this the moment you begin to separate yourself from unconscious complexes, those clusters of memories, emotions, and beliefs accumulated from the past that control you from the shadows. When you blame, you only strengthen their power. But when you pause and ask, "What role am I playing in this?" you begin to break free from the cycle. Taking responsibility isn't about self-punishment or taking all the blame. It's about shifting roles, from someone controlled by the shadow to someone who actively chooses. You can't control others, but you are entirely responsible for what you continue to allow. And that's what's truly terrifying. It forces you to abandon the old story and write a new chapter where you can't blame anyone if it fails. Psychologically, this is a leap from ego defense to self-recognition, a bold step requiring courage. People are often willing to suffer a lifetime rather than admit they were wrong, weak, chose the wrong person, or stayed silent too long. But you can't heal from a place of pretense. True healing begins when you look at yourself and say, "I got lost, but I can find my way back." When you start taking responsibility, every story you've told about others changes. The story of "my ex destroyed me" becomes "I once traded myself for love." The story of "my family hurt me" becomes "I learned to stay silent to survive." And most importantly, you no longer need an apology to heal. Forgiveness is no longer a favor you grant others. It's a gift you give yourself to break free from the endless cycle of blame. And the miraculous thing is, when you stop blaming, you don't become weaker, you grow stronger. You're not softer, you're steadier. You don't forgive out of nobility. You forgive because you no longer want to be tethered. You take responsibility because you want to be free. From that moment, your energy shifts. You no longer hurt others to feel safe. You protect your boundaries with calm, not anger. You stop seeking someone to blame and start listening to what within you still needs to be seen. And then you'll notice The heaviness that clung to you for years suddenly feels lighter in a strange way. This isn't the relief of shedding a burden or the lightness of a life free of problems. It's a different, deeper kind of lightness. The lightness of no longer having to resist, hide, or fight yourself. Paradoxically, nothing disappears. You still face the same memories, emotions, and life, but you no longer feel crushed by their weight. At this point, we've journeyed halfway. We sincerely thank you for being here. Your presence is a tremendous encouragement for us in our mission to bring the true value of Jung's philosophy to more people. So please like and share this video to spread these lessons to your loved ones and friends. Or leave a comment saying, "I value my life," if you're ready for the next leg of the journey. Sign 5. You feel lighter, but not because everything disappears. Carl Jung once said, "We cannot change anything unless we accept it." This means you don't achieve enlightenment because life suddenly becomes free of suffering, nor because you've become perfect or better than others. True enlightenment comes when you stop rejecting what you don't want to see and instead embrace everything that belongs to you, your fears, weaknesses, old wounds, and even the darkest corners you once despised. This complete acceptance brings a sense of lightness because you no longer expend energy hiding, protecting a fragile ego, or avoiding pain you once thought unbearable. Imagine you've been carrying a backpack filled with heavy stones, each one a painful memory, an old wound, a failure, or a criticism that once hurt you. Every day, you haul it everywhere, trying to prove to yourself and the world that you're strong, that you can endure it all without complaint. But the truth is, the backpack grows heavier, making every step laborious and slow, every breath strained and difficult. Then one day, you stop. You decide to set the backpack down, open it, and look at the stones inside. For the first time, you truly see each stone, each story, and realize you don't have to carry them everywhere just to prove your resilience. This is the psychological maturity Jung spoke of. You remain fully aware of your wounds, but they no longer control you. You recognize them as events that happened, not as things happening in your mind every day. By no longer identifying with past pain, you free up a vast amount of energy once used to resist and maintain your old story. A woman who experienced this shared, "I used to think that when I healed, I'd no longer feel sadness or anger. I imagined a perfect version of myself, untouched by hurt or shaken by anything. But then I realized I still feel pain when I recall the past. I still feel sadness when something triggers an old wound. But the biggest difference is that I'm no longer swept away by those emotions. I feel them, but I no longer believe I am them." That's when I felt lighter. Not because I became perfect, but because I stopped forcing myself to be perfect. When you feel this kind of lightness, you begin to experience life differently. Relationships, work, even things that once exhausted you, suddenly feel simpler. Not because you force them to be, but because you no longer burden yourself with the need to control everything. Conflicts that once stressed you now become opportunities to see more clearly what's happening within you. You no longer avoid discomfort or insecurity. You can stand still, observe each emotion and thought as they arise, without rushing to push them away. This is the clearest sign that you're gradually escaping the shadow's control. You feel at ease, but not indifferent or numb to life. Instead, you're more fully present and awake than ever, looking directly at what once scared you, and accepting it as an essential part of your journey to becoming your true self. And in that moment, you truly begin to understand the profound meaning of Jung's words. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. Light and darkness, strength and weakness, all are necessary to shape who you are today. This is true lightness, a feeling no one and nothing external can give or take away, because it comes from within the truth you've dared to acknowledge, confront, and sincerely down those paths alone. For the first time, you feel each step on the damp earth, hear every sound, every rustle of leaves. And then you realize something strange. The forest was never frightening or threatening. It offers an indescribable peace. You understand that what you feared wasn't the forest, but walking through it alone. When you dare to move through loneliness, you begin to feel the strength of your inner presence. You no longer need someone by your side just to prove you're alive, because now you move forward confidently in the serene and authentic stillness of your soul. Before we continue, take a moment of quiet. Breathe slowly. If what you've just heard stirs something within you, as if someone gently touched a familiar but long-forgotten silence, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications today. Not because we want to hold you here, but because you deserve a place to return to when the noise of the world becomes too much. Attachment psychology studies show that those with anxious attachment styles often seek constant companionship to alleviate loneliness or self-doubt. They may spend excessive time on activities like texting, using dating apps, or attending social gatherings, even when it exhausts them or isn't what they truly want. However, recent mindfulness meditation studies reveal that when people learn to sit still and observe emotions without reacting, they begin to shift away from the need to busy or validate themselves. This quiet acceptance, though initially unfamiliar, often leads to a profound sense of relief because they no longer flee from themselves. From Jung's perspective, this experience is a crucial step in individuation. When you stop trying to fill the void with dependent relationships, you open the door to building deeper, more meaningful connections. You stop seeking others to soothe your insecurities and start meeting them from a place of wholeness. You don't love to be saved. You love because you genuinely want to share your life with someone who has also cultivated their inner completeness. Loneliness is no longer terrifying because you realize you don't need someone constantly by your side to feel safe or worthy. Instead, you begin to cherish moments alone as they help you see more clearly who you are and what you truly want from life. Relationships built on this foundation become far more resilient because you no longer love from lack or desperation, but from freedom and a clear sense of your worth. Sign 7. You no longer need to change to be worthy. The deeper you venture into this journey of awakening, the more you realize you don't need to become someone else to be worthy. You have always been enough, even in your incompleteness. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Not because it's difficult, but because your entire life you've learned to disguise yourself with masks. The kind person, the perfect person, the agreeable person, the strong person. You believe that only by being good enough by someone else's standards, society, parents, an ex-partner, or the idealized image in your mind, could you be loved. And you didn't realize that this relentless effort to become someone else is precisely why you've always felt not enough. When the shadow is in control, it tells you, you have to be better, prettier, gentler, funnier, quieter, more obedient, stronger, to be loved. And you believe it. You edit yourself like a piece of music, cutting out the noise, smoothing over the wrong notes, amplifying the right ones, until the song sounds pleasing to the ear. But what's left is no longer the original composition. It's a listener-friendly version, not your true essence. One woman shared that she always became the ideal girl in every relationship. When she loved someone humorous, she learned to tell jokes. When she was with someone academic, she forced herself to read philosophy. When with someone who valued freedom, she suppressed her sensitivity and need for deep connection. She did it all to hold on to love, to avoid being abandoned. But ironically, one by one, they still left. Only then did she realize they didn't abandon her. They abandoned a version of her she forced herself to become. Her true self had never been truly loved because she had never dared to fully show up. This is the nature of the shadow. It convinces you that you need fixing, polishing, or molding to fit others, because if you were truly yourself, who could love you? And so, you move through the years with a fearful question. If I don't do something to keep them, am I still worthy of their staying? But when you cross the breaking point of this journey, when you've faced your fear of loneliness, stopped blaming others, and sat still in your truth, you begin to notice something strange. You no longer see anything wrong with yourself, not because you've become perfect, but because you've stopped trying to be. You start to find it normal to be weak at times, to be contradictory, to be unclear, to need time, to make mistakes. Instead of reshaping yourself to fit someone's gaze, you begin to ask, am I betraying myself? This is when you know you've stepped out of the shadow's control. You no longer love to be saved or live to be accepted. You start living to express the truth within you, and those who remain after that truth are the ones you can truly walk with. From a psychological perspective, this is a clear sign of personality maturation. In early developmental stages, people learn to align themselves with others' expectations, parents, society, and idealized archetypes. This creates a false ego, an identity driven by the need for recognition. But to live a truly free and whole life, you must courageously let go of that false ego and move toward the true self, where you no longer live to fit in, but to be real. Imagine yourself as a river. For years you've tried to bend your flow to fit fields, concrete paths, and pipelines. You accepted having your current distorted just to avoid falling off course. But then one day, you break free. No channel can contain you anymore. In that seemingly frightening chaos, you find your true path, not through someone else's map, but through the primal flow within you. You no longer bend. You flow as you are meant to. And anyone who wants to stay must learn to respect that flow or leave. From here, you also begin to realize something simple yet profoundly liberating. Loving someone doesn't mean changing to make them stay. And someone who truly loves you doesn't demand you change to be worthy of them. They don't love you because you match their ideal. They love you despite being yourself. Any love that lacks this permission comes from the ego, not the soul. Ultimately, the journey of facing the shadow isn't about becoming better in someone's eyes. It's about returning to a self that needs no fixing, a place where you dare to show up in your truth, even when that truth isn't easy, perfect, or polished. And in that moment, when you stop running from yourself, you step into the first state of wholeness in your life. If you're on this journey, keep going. And if something in this video made you feel seen, share it with someone else quietly walking this path. Who knows, you might be the small light that helps them realize they've never been alone on their journey back to themselves.